May 3, 1943. Imperial Japanese Army Technical Research Institute, Tachikawa Airfield, Western Tokyo. Commander Takeo Yoshida stood before America's most closely guarded secret, and he had no idea it would shatter everything he believed about modern warfare. The captured Norden bombsight, serial number M9587, sat on the examination table like a mechanical oracle. Olive drab paint chipped from combat damage, brass fittings dulled by Pacific humidity, but the gyroscopes inside still spun with precision that Japanese industry had never achieved. For 18 months, Yoshida had directed Japan's bombsight development program, perfecting optical range-finding systems that required skilled operators and favorable conditions. But when he powered up the American device for the first time, watching its gyroscope stabilize and its analog computer begin calculating drop angles automatically, something fundamental shifted in his understanding. The clarity of the telescopic sight exceeded anything Japanese engineers had produced. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. The gyroscopic stabilization maintained perfect orientation, regardless of aircraft maneuvering. Most unsettling of all, the autopilot connection meant the bombardier could fly the aircraft during the final approach, eliminating pilot error from the bombing equation. In that moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of American precision engineering, Yoshida realized the terrifying truth his superiors had missed. Japan wasn't just fighting better bombers. Japan was fighting aircraft that could think mathematically, solve three-dimensional trajectory problems in real time, and deliver bombs with accuracy that Japanese doctrine said was impossible. The captured Norden held the secret to why American bombing raids achieved results that Japanese air defenses couldn't prevent. The transport convoy's engines coughed to silence outside Tachikawa's heavily guarded technical facility as the May morning heat already shimmered across the concrete apron. Commander Takeo Yoshida adjusted his white gloves and checked his pocket watch. 0700 hours exactly as scheduled. 15 years of Imperial Navy service had taught the former navigation instructor that precision in technical matters often revealed larger strategic truths, and today's assignment promised revelations that extended far beyond a single captured device. The prize that emerged from the covered truck defied every assumption Yoshida had formed during his career developing Japanese bombsights. A Norden Mark 15 bombsight, complete with its stabilizer unit and autopilot connections, sat secured in its protective case like a technological contradiction. Battle-scarred yet functional, foreign yet somehow familiar in its mechanical logic, ordinary-looking yet threatening in ways Yoshida couldn't immediately articulate. Dried salt spray from Pacific operations still crusted its mounting brackets, and impact marks from the B-25's crash landing had dented the aluminum housing. But American engineers had built this machine to survive combat damage, and survive it had. "Commander," Captain Hiroshi Nakamura called, snapping to attention beside the examination table. "The American prisoner arrives within the hour. Shall we begin preliminary documentation?" Yoshida nodded, his analytical mind already cataloguing observable details. The Norden's two-part construction caught his attention first. An upper sight head containing the telescope, gyroscopes, and calculating mechanisms mounted atop a lower stabilizer unit with its own directional gyroscope. No external computational aids cluttered the installation, suggesting an integrated system rather than the modular additions Japanese engineers typically employed when developing precision instruments. 20 minutes later, as Yoshida circled the Norden with measuring calipers and technical notebook, the second transport arrived. Technical Sergeant Robert McKinley emerged from the prisoner vehicle with the careful dignity of a man who understood his circumstances but refused to be diminished by them. At 24, McKinley possessed the compact build of a Pennsylvania factory worker and the steady hands of someone accustomed to maintaining delicate instruments under operational pressure. Despite 6 weeks in Japanese custody, his posture remained straight, his expression alert. "The American bombardier," announced Lieutenant Colonel Kenji Yamamoto, stepping forward with the measured authority of a combat veteran. "He has been cooperative regarding non-tactical technical information." Yamamoto's careful phrasing conveyed the unspoken understanding that cooperation had limits both sides respected. McKinley's gaze immediately found his former bombsight, and Yoshida observed the subtle tightening around the young American's eyes. Professional curiosity overcame diplomatic restraint. "Sergeant, you operated this device during combat missions?" "Yes, sir," McKinley replied in heavily accented Japanese, his tone neutral but not subservient. "Bombardier B-25 Mitchell, 37 missions before we went down." Yoshida gestured toward the Norden's intricate mechanisms. "This configuration? This is standard for American bombers?" McKinley hesitated, calculating how much technical information crossed the line from machinery into tactics. "Standard for level bombing aircraft, sir. Every heavy and medium bomber carries the same type. Different models, same principles." Every bomber. Yoshida felt the first flutter of professional unease. Japanese doctrine typically equipped only specialized aircraft with precision bombsights, relying on simpler optical devices and skilled operators for most missions. But if every American bomber could calculate trajectories automatically, coordinate with autopilots, and compensate for wind drift in real time, the strategic implications were staggering. "Shall we examine the internal mechanisms?" Yamamoto suggested, his curiosity clearly piqued by possibilities he was beginning to imagine. The Norden's upper sight head struck Yoshida immediately as both compact and impossibly complex. American designers had packed gyroscopes, analog computers, telescopic optics, and control mechanisms into a space smaller than Japanese field equipment, creating an instrument that skilled operators could use instinctively, even under combat stress. But the mechanical integration commanded his complete attention, a level of precision manufacturing he had never encountered in any Japanese device. "Mark 15 Model 7, McKinley said simply, indicating the manufacturer's plate. "Gyroscopically stabilized, analog computer for continuous trajectory calculation, direct coupling to aircraft autopilot." Yoshida's mental calculations raced. Gyroscopic stabilization eliminated the platform drift that plagued Japanese optical sights. Analog computing provided real-time trajectory updates that manual calculations could never match. Autopilot integration removed human reaction time from the bombing equation. Each feature represented not just technical advancement, but fundamental rethinking of how precision bombing should function. "The stabilization system," Yamamoto inquired, recognizing mechanisms unfamiliar from his experience with Japanese horizontal bombers. "2 gyroscopes," McKinley explained, his professional pride overcoming tactical discretion. "Vertical gyro in the sight head maintains true vertical reference regardless of aircraft attitude. Directional gyro in the stabilizer maintains heading reference. Together they keep the sight oriented correctly, even during maneuvering." Yamamoto exchanged glances with Yoshida. Japanese bombsights relied on maintaining straight and level flight during the entire approach, creating predictable flight paths that enemy fighters exploited ruthlessly. The idea of maintaining stable aiming reference during evasive maneuvers represented a fundamental philosophical difference in combat design. "May we conduct a functional demonstration?" Yoshida asked, his scientific curiosity overwhelming diplomatic protocol. McKinley shrugged with studied indifference. "Your bombsight now, sir, though the autopilot connection won't function without aircraft installation." Yoshida activated the Norden's power sequence, immediately noting the smooth gyroscope, spin-up, and rapid stabilization. Japanese equipment typically required several minutes for gyroscopes to reach operational speed. The American system achieved stability in less than 30 seconds. When Yamamoto peered through the telescopic sight, both Japanese officers experienced the uncomfortable recognition that they were examining technology superior to anything in their arsenal. For the next hour, Yoshida methodically tested optical clarity, gyroscopic stability, and computational mechanisms, while Yamamoto coordinated with observers positioned throughout the facility. Results challenged every assumption about American industrial capability he had maintained since the war began. The telescope provided magnification and clarity that exceeded the finest Japanese optical instruments. The gyroscopes maintained orientation with precision that eliminated the drift corrections Japanese bombardiers performed manually throughout every mission. But the moment that shattered Yoshida's professional confidence came when McKinley demonstrated the analog computer's trajectory calculation capability. Bombardier dials in altitude, airspeed, wind direction, and velocity, and bomb type, McKinley explained with careful neutrality. Computer continuously calculates the release point based on current conditions. As conditions change during the approach, calculations update automatically. Bombardier just keeps the crosshairs on target. When the calculated release point matches the actual sighting angle, bombs drop automatically. Yoshida felt the blood drain from his own face as tactical implications cascaded through his analytical mind. While Japanese bombardiers performed manual calculations before each run, then flew predetermined approaches, hoping conditions remained constant. American crews adjusted continuously throughout the approach. Wind shifts that invalidated Japanese calculations became minor corrections in American procedures. Altitude variations that forced Japanese crews to recalculate became automatic compensations in American systems. As the morning demonstration concluded, Yoshida found himself staring at an ordinary-looking instrument that had revealed the extraordinary scope of Japanese tactical blindness. Superior aircraft performance and crew training meant nothing if the enemy could calculate bombing solutions faster, compensate for changing conditions automatically, and maintain accuracy regardless of evasive maneuvering. Yamamoto voiced the question that hung between them like smoke from a burning city. How many American bombers carry this equipment? McKinley's slight smile carried the weight of industrial democracy, triumphing over technical aristocracy. Every one of them capable of level bombing, sir. B-17, B-24, B-25, B-26. Even the new B-29 Superfortress carries an advanced version. Every single one. Sleep had eluded Yoshida through the long Tokyo night. Each time he closed his eyes, technical specifications swirled through his consciousness like equations that refused to balance. Gyroscopic precision against manual leveling, automatic computation against hand calculations, real-time adjustment against predetermined approaches. By dawn, he had filled 8 pages of his leather-bound notebook with calculations that painted an increasingly disturbing picture of Japanese technological disadvantage. The morning's systematic testing began with clinical precision. Yoshida had arranged for 3 additional Imperial Navy technical officers to assist with precision measurements, while Yamamoto coordinated from various observation points across Tachikawa's expansive facility. McKinley observed with studied indifference, occasionally offering technical clarifications when directly questioned, but volunteering nothing that approached operational intelligence. Optical clarity test first, Yoshida announced, adjusting the Norden's telescopic sight. The immediate response impressed him despite his growing professional anxiety. Japanese bomb sites used optical systems that functioned adequately under ideal conditions, but degraded rapidly with moisture, temperature changes, or vibration stress. The American telescope maintained crystal clarity through temperature ranges and handling that would have fogged Japanese lenses completely. Yamamoto's voice called from 800 meters across the testing field, "Target identification excellent. Can read the characters on the measurement markers clearly." Yoshida increased the observation distance, systematically, 1,000 meters, 1,500, 2,000. At each interval, the Norden's optics maintained resolution that exceeded Japanese military specifications under ideal laboratory conditions. When Yamamoto reached the facility's maximum observation range of 3,000 meters, his assessment remained consistent. Visual clarity sufficient for target identification. Japanese optical equipment would show only general shapes at this distance. The manufacturing philosophy, Yoshida murmured, more to himself than to McKinley. This system assumes extended operational use under adverse conditions rather than optimal performance under controlled circumstances. McKinley shifted uncomfortably, recognizing dangerous territory. American doctrine emphasizes reliability under combat conditions, sir. Equipment designed for average operators rather than specialists. The implications struck Yoshida with the force of revelation. Japanese bombsight development assumed highly trained operators who could compensate for equipment limitations through skill and experience. Commanders expected individual bombardiers to achieve precision through training that took months to complete and required natural aptitude that few possessed. But if American equipment enabled average operators to achieve results that Japanese specialists struggled to match, every engagement became a contest between limited Japanese expertise and unlimited American capacity. Demonstrate the gyroscopic stabilization, Yamamoto requested after returning from the optical testing. His tone carried professional interest tinged with growing concern. Yoshida activated the stabilization system and immediately understood why American bombing achieved accuracy under conditions that grounded Japanese operations. The vertical gyroscope maintained true reference regardless of aircraft attitude, while the directional gyroscope compensated for heading changes automatically. Japanese bombardiers manually adjusted their optical sights throughout each approach, losing precious seconds and introducing errors with every correction. In combat situations, McKinley explained carefully, the bombardier can maneuver during the approach without losing sight alignment. If fighters attack, pilot takes evasive action. Gyroscopes maintain reference. When aircraft returns to approach heading, sight is still properly oriented. Japanese method requires starting the entire sighting procedure again after maneuvering. Yamamoto's expression darkened as he processed the tactical advantages. Japanese bombing procedures required maintaining straight and level flight from initial sighting through bomb release, typically 3 to 5 minutes of predictable flight path. American procedures allowed continuous adjustment and temporary maneuvering without losing computational accuracy. The difference transformed bombing from rigid procedure into flexible operation. Yoshida began his most critical test, analog, computer operation. He programmed the Norden with various altitude, airspeed, and wind configurations, while Yamamoto coordinated with other technical officers across the facility. The demonstration revealed computational capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about bombing accuracy. Bombardier programs, initial conditions before the run, McKinley continued, his professional pride overcoming tactical discretion. But during approach, computer continuously updates based on actual ground speed measurement. If wind changes, computer compensates automatically. If altitude varies, new trajectory calculates instantly. Bombardier concentrates on keeping crosshairs on target. Computer handles everything else. The mathematical implications horrified Yoshida. Japanese bombardiers typically spent 2 to 3 minutes calculating bombing solutions before each approach, using slide rules and reference tables to account for altitude, airspeed, and estimated wind effects. If conditions changed during the approach, the entire calculation became invalid, forcing either recalculation or accepting degraded accuracy. American crews updated calculations continuously, adapting to changing conditions without conscious effort. Yamamoto rejoined them as Yoshida concluded the computational testing, his expression troubled. The calculation speed, he said quietly, exceeds human capability by orders of magnitude. Japanese bombardiers require minutes for solutions the Norden updates continuously throughout the approach. The device measures actual ground speed, McKinley confirmed, not estimated airspeed corrected for wind. Direct measurement eliminates calculation errors. If the bomber is moving fast relative to ground, computer knows. If moving slow, computer knows. Calculation uses actual speed, not estimated speed. Yoshida felt his professional confidence crumbling as the scope of American tactical advantage became clear. Accurate bombing required solving three-dimensional trajectory problems, while accounting for wind, altitude, airspeed, and ballistic characteristics. Japanese procedures required skilled specialists performing complex calculations under stress, accepting degraded accuracy when conditions varied from initial estimates. American procedures automated the entire process, enabling average operators to achieve results that Japanese specialists could only approximate under ideal conditions. The industrial capacity required, Yoshida calculated aloud, to equip every bomber with this level of computational sophistication. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. McKinley's slight smile carried implications that extended far beyond bombsight engineering. American factories build them like automobiles, sir. Assembly line production, standardized components, interchangeable parts. Every bombardier trains on identical equipment. Every maintenance technician uses standard procedures. Break a gyroscope, replace it with standard spare. Damage the computer mechanism, swap the entire unit. The contrast with Japanese manufacturing philosophy struck Yoshida with devastating clarity. Imperial Navy bombsights required specialized craftsmen, hand-fitted components, and complex maintenance procedures that assumed peacetime workshop conditions. American equipment was designed for combat replacement by ordinary technicians using common tools. Simplicity and reliability defeated complexity and theoretical perfection. As afternoon shadows lengthened across the testing ground, Yoshida compiled measurements that documented Japanese technological disadvantage with scientific precision. The Norden outperformed every Japanese bombsight in optical clarity, stabilization accuracy, and computational speed, while requiring less operator training and maintenance expertise. But the deeper revelation concerned operational philosophy. American bombing doctrine assumed equipment would enable success. Japanese doctrine assumed operators would overcome equipment limitations. Yamamoto studied Yoshida's preliminary calculations with the grim expression of a professional soldier recognizing systemic defeat. The accuracy advantages, he said finally, may be more decisive than aircraft performance superiority. Japanese tactics assume individual bombardier excellence. American tactics assume collective capability enabled by superior equipment. Yoshida nodded, his engineer's mind already projecting the industrial requirements for Japanese improvement. Redesigning bombsights, retooling factories, retraining crews, revising tactical doctrine, changes that required resources Japan no longer possessed, and time the war would not provide. The captured Norden had revealed not just superior equipment, but an entirely different approach to aerial warfare that transformed ordinary bombers into precision instruments. McKinley observed their growing comprehension with quiet satisfaction, understanding that his bombsight represented something larger than military hardware. American industrial philosophy had created weapons systems that ordinary soldiers could operate effectively, while Japanese technical tradition had produced sophisticated equipment that only specialists could exploit. The difference was deciding engagements across the Pacific and would soon determine the war's outcome. The summons from Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa arrived at Yamamoto's quarters before dawn, requesting his immediate presence at Tachikawa to provide operational perspective on American bombing capabilities. Yamamoto had commanded carrier-based bombing operations through the early campaigns of the Pacific War, accumulating enough combat experience to recognize that his survival depended on understanding enemy capabilities rather than dismissing them through nationalist pride. The captured Norden represented an intelligence opportunity that could save Japanese lives, assuming the lessons learned could be implemented before Allied production superiority rendered individual tactical improvements irrelevant. Yamamoto arrived at the technical facility as Yoshida completed his preliminary analysis, finding the commander hunched over pages of calculations that painted an increasingly disturbing picture of Japanese bombing disadvantage. The mathematical precision of Yoshida's work impressed Yamamoto, but the tactical implications terrified him. If American bombing units could calculate trajectories automatically, while Japanese crews performed manual calculations, every engagement became a contest between mechanical precision and human limitation. "Lieutenant Colonel," Yoshida greeted him, gesturing toward the captured Norden with visible frustration. "Your operational experience may help explain observations that challenge our fundamental tactical assumptions. This bombsight appears designed for continuous operation during combat maneuvering rather than optimal accuracy under ideal conditions." Yamamoto examined the Norden's mounting configuration, immediately noting the engineering philosophy that prioritized combat functionality over theoretical perfection. American designers had created an instrument that average bombardiers could use effectively under stress, rather than a precision device that only specialists could exploit under favorable circumstances. The contrast with Japanese equipment philosophy was striking. During operations over Guadalcanal, Yamamoto began carefully. American bombing achieved accuracy that seemed impossible given reported operational altitudes and conditions. Individual Japanese aircraft achieved superior altitude performance, but American formations maintained bombing effectiveness despite our fighter interdiction. McKinley observed their discussion with professional interest, recognizing experienced officers discussing tactical realities that transcended national boundaries. Yamamoto's respectful tone and technical questions suggested genuine military competence rather than of ideological posturing, encouraging McKinley to provide information that might illuminate American tactical advantages without compromising operational security. Yamamoto activated the Norden sighting system and immediately understood why American crews maintained effectiveness under conditions that degraded Japanese accuracy. Optical clarity eliminated the estimation errors that plagued Japanese visual ranging. Gyroscopic stabilization removed the manual corrections that consumed attention during critical approach phases. Automatic computation freed bombardiers to concentrate on target tracking rather than mathematical calculation. October 17, 1942, Henderson Field bombardment, Yamamoto said suddenly, the memory crystallizing with uncomfortable clarity. "Our aircraft achieved altitude advantage and favorable attack geometry. Individual bombing runs demonstrated technical proficiency, but target damage remained minimal. American daylight raids against our installations consistently achieved superior damage despite apparently similar operational parameters." Yoshida looked up from his calculations, his expression inviting elaboration. Yamamoto's professional memory reconstructed the engagement with clinical precision. "Our bombardiers performed calculations according to doctrine, compensated for observed wind conditions, and released ordnance at computed release points. Visual confirmation suggested accurate releases, yet post-strike reconnaissance revealed dispersed impact patterns. American strikes against similar targets produced concentrated damage, suggesting significantly superior accuracy." McKinley shifted uncomfortably, recognizing tactical information that approached operational intelligence. But Yamamoto's analysis focused on equipment capabilities rather than specific procedures, remaining within boundaries that professional soldiers understood instinctively. "The calculation methodology," Yamamoto continued, "required manual compensation throughout the approach. Wind estimation based on observed drift, altitude measurement from barometric instruments, airspeed from pitot-static indicators. Each measurement introduced potential error. Each calculation created opportunity for mistake. Under combat stress, with anti-aircraft fire and fighter attacks, achieving precision became increasingly difficult." Yoshida's expression darkened as implications became clear. American automated computation eliminated the error accumulation that degraded Japanese accuracy. Their continuous calculation compensated for measurement uncertainties through real-time adjustment. What appeared as superior American skill was actually superior American equipment, enabling consistent performance. Yamamoto nodded grimly. After initial bombing runs, American aircraft often achieved damage concentrations that suggested impossibly accurate targeting. No manual recalculation delay, no estimation errors compounding through approach phases. They maintained accuracy because their equipment compensated automatically for factors that forced our crews to estimate and recalculate. The memory of those engagements haunted Yamamoto because it represented tactical defeat, despite individual superiority. Japanese bombers had achieved better altitude performance through superior aircraft design, but American units had controlled engagement outcomes through bombing accuracy that Japanese procedures could not match. Victory had gone to the side that could calculate precisely, rather than fly skillfully. Demonstrate operational procedures under typical combat conditions, Yamamoto requested, his curiosity overcoming diplomatic restraint. McKinley hesitated, then provided a carefully generalized example. Bombardier acquires target at maximum optical range, typically 5 to 8 miles, programs Bombsight with current altitude, airspeed, and wind conditions based on navigator's data, activates automatic pilot connection. From that point, keeps crosshairs centered on target while computer updates release point continuously. If conditions change, computer compensates automatically. If pilot takes evasive action, gyroscopes maintain reference. When calculated release point matches actual sighting angle, bombs drop. No manual calculation during approach. No estimation under stress. Yamamoto felt his tactical worldview shifting as he processed the implications. Japanese doctrine assumed bombardiers would perform calculations before approaches, then fly predetermined flight paths, hoping conditions remained constant. American doctrine assumed continuous calculation throughout approaches, allowing dynamic adjustment to changing conditions. The difference transformed bombing from rigid procedure into adaptive process. The force multiplication factor, Yoshida calculated, could be 3 to 4 times effectiveness, 10 aircraft with automated bombing against 10 aircraft with manual procedures, same number of aircraft, vastly different damage concentration. Yamamoto's combat experience confirmed the mathematical analysis. At Rabaul, American bombing achieved tactical surprise through accuracy that seemed impossible given operational conditions. Now I understand their accuracy advantage was equipment capability, not crew skill superiority. The captured Norden had revealed not just superior technology, but an entirely different philosophy of bombing warfare. While Japanese doctrine emphasized individual bombardier excellence and rigid procedures, American doctrine emphasized automated calculation and adaptive tactics. The contrast explained why Japanese bombing operations achieved inconsistent results, while American raids produced reliable damage regardless of conditions. Superior individual performance could not overcome systematic equipment disadvantages. McKinley watched the two Japanese officers process tactical revelations that challenged fundamental assumptions about aerial bombing. Yamamoto's respectful professionalism and technical competence impressed him despite their opposing allegiances. These were serious military professionals, recognizing uncomfortable truths about combat effectiveness, rather than ideologues dismissing enemy capabilities. The industrial implications, Yamamoto said finally, exceed the tactical advantages. American production methods that can equip every bomber with sophisticated computational equipment represent manufacturing capacity that Japan cannot match. Yoshida nodded, his engineer's perspective confirming Yamamoto's strategic assessment. Retooling Japanese factories to produce equivalent bomb sites would require precision manufacturing capabilities and resources that current circumstances cannot provide. The technological gap may be unbridgeable given existing industrial constraints. Yamamoto stared across the testing ground toward the distant mountains, his tactical mind projecting future engagements where Japanese individual skill would face American mechanical precision. The mathematics were inexorable. Automated equipment would defeat manual procedures through systematic advantages that training could not overcome. The captured Norden represented more than superior technology. It embodied an industrial philosophy that could equip ordinary soldiers with instruments designed for combat effectiveness rather than theoretical perfection. Japanese manufacturing tradition had created equipment for specialists. American manufacturing philosophy had created equipment for soldiers. The difference was determining the war's outcome through accumulated tactical advantages that transformed strategic possibilities. The third day of evaluation began with McKinley observing from supervised distance as Yoshida and Yamamoto conducted comparison demonstrations using both Japanese and captured American equipment. For the first time since his capture, McKinley witnessed Imperial Navy bomb sites in operation, and the comparison struck him with unexpected clarity. The technological gap exceeded even American intelligence estimates, revealing systematic disadvantages that explained why Japanese bombing seemed accurate only under ideal conditions. Yoshida had arranged the demonstration with scientific precision, establishing identical test parameters to measure comparative performance under controlled conditions. Yamamoto coordinated from various observation positions using both bombsight systems, while McKinley provided technical consultation regarding American operational procedures. The results documented Japanese equipment disadvantage with mathematical clarity that eliminated subjective interpretation. Type 97 bombing site, optical ranging measurement, Yoshida announced, activating the Japanese device. Yamamoto's assessment emerged through moderate static, requiring careful interpretation to extract meaning from ambient noise interfering with the observation protocol. McKinley observed the Japanese procedure with growing understanding of why Imperial Navy bombing required highly trained specialists. Manual optical ranging demanded precise measurement under conditions that rarely remained stable. Hand calculations using slide rules and reference tables consumed attention during phases when American bombardiers concentrated solely on target tracking. The Japanese system functioned adequately under ideal conditions but degraded rapidly when combat stress introduced timing pressure or equipment vibration affected measurement accuracy. Norden bombsight, same test parameters, Yoshida continued, switching to the American system. The demonstration revealed capability differences that transcended simple performance metrics. Where Japanese procedures required sequential operations, American automation enabled parallel processing. Where Japanese methods assumed stable conditions, American design accommodated continuous variation. Yamamoto's assessment reflected the operational difference. Japanese system requires maintaining measurement discipline throughout approach. American system measures automatically, calculates continuously, updates constantly. Attention requirements differ fundamentally. The device continuously measures ground speed directly, McKinley confirmed. Not calculated from airspeed and wind estimation. Direct optical measurement of actual movement over ground. Computer uses measured speed rather than estimated speed. Eliminates the largest source of calculation error in manual procedures. Yoshida felt professional certainty dissolving as tactical implications accumulated. Japanese bombing accuracy depended on skilled operators performing complex procedures under ideal conditions. American bombing accuracy depended on automated systems functioning reliably under any conditions. Training could improve Japanese performance incrementally. Equipment design gave Americans structural advantage that training could not overcome. Demonstrate maximum effective range, Yamamoto requested after completing basic operational comparison. His tone carried the weight of combat experience, recognizing capability gaps that tactics could not bridge. The range demonstration revealed practical limitations that intelligence reports had understated. Japanese optical bomb sites functioned effectively to approximately 3,000 meters under clear conditions, but degraded rapidly with atmospheric interference, target obscuration, or non-ideal lighting. American gyroscopic stabilization and superior optics maintained capability through conditions that grounded Japanese operations entirely. Our bombing doctrine, Yamamoto observed, assumes operations under favorable conditions with highly trained crews. American doctrine assumes operations under combat conditions with adequately trained crews. The philosophical difference creates capability gap that training cannot eliminate. Yoshida arranged the final demonstration, automated trajectory compensation during simulated approach variations. The test would reveal whether American equipment advantages translated to practical operational superiority under realistic combat conditions. Japanese procedure requires recalculation when approach parameters change, Yoshida explained. Wind shift, altitude variation, airspeed adjustment, each requires new calculation before continuing approach. American procedure adapts automatically to changing conditions. The demonstration proceeded with Yamamoto coordinating simulated approach variations, while Yoshida monitored both Japanese and American response requirements. The results documented automation advantages that transformed operational capability. Japanese procedures required bombardier attention to detect changes, perform new calculations, and implement updated parameters. American procedures detected changes automatically, calculated updates continuously, and implemented corrections without conscious operator intervention. McKinley recognized that his bombsight had revealed systematic Japanese vulnerabilities that extended far beyond bombing accuracy. American industrial philosophy created equipment that ordinary operators could use effectively under stress. Japanese technical tradition produced sophisticated equipment that only specialists could exploit under favorable conditions. Combat effectiveness favored automated reliability over manual precision. The evaluation concluded with Yamamoto coordinating a hypothetical bombing mission using American automation procedures. For the first time in his operational career, he experienced bombing coordination without manual calculation, parameter estimation, or recalculation delays. The improvement in operational efficiency was so dramatic that Yamamoto understood why American bombing achieved consistent results despite Japanese fighter interdiction and anti-aircraft defenses. The capability multiplication, Yamamoto said finally, may determine strategic outcomes regardless of individual aircraft superiority. Automated equipment enables consistent effectiveness. Manual procedures require ideal conditions. Combat rarely provides ideal conditions. Yoshida's calculations supported Yamamoto's tactical assessment with mathematical precision. American automation superiority provided advantages that Japanese industrial capacity could not match given current resource constraints and time limitations. The technological gap represented not just superior engineering, but entirely different approach to military equipment design that prioritized combat reliability over optimal performance. The final morning at Tachikawa arrived with autumn weather that seemed to mock the technical certainties Yoshida had maintained through years of engineering practice. His comprehensive report lay complete across the technical facility's metal desk, 32 pages of analysis and calculations that documented American bombing superiority with scientific precision that could not be dismissed through nationalist rhetoric. But numbers could not capture the emotional weight of professional assumptions crumbling under pressure of uncomfortable evidence. Yoshida positioned himself beside the Norden for the conclusive demonstration that would measure potential Japanese improvement using American automation principles. He had arranged for 2 additional Navy bombardiers to participate in a comparative evaluation, simulating formation-level operations using captured American equipment. The demonstration would reveal whether superior Japanese training could benefit from American computational methods. Approach coordinates established, altitude 7,000 meters, Yoshida transmitted through the testing facility's communication system. The response demonstrated immediate capability improvement. 2 bombardiers coordinated their simulated approaches using Norden automation, maintaining accuracy without the manual calculation that typically consumed attention during critical approach phases. McKinley observed from his supervised position beside the facility command post, recognizing procedures that approached American operational methods while maintaining distinctly Japanese characteristics. Yoshida's natural technical competence and methodical approach impressed him despite their opposing allegiances. These were serious military professionals exploring tactical possibilities rather than ideological opponents dismissing enemy capabilities. The coordinated approach proceeded with precision that Yoshida had rarely experienced during actual operations. Bombardiers shared simulated targeting information, coordinated mutual support according to doctrine, and adapted to test scenario variations without the calculation delays that typically forced Japanese formations to rely on predetermined procedures. The improvement in tactical flexibility was so dramatic that Yoshida began to understand why American bombing achieved strategic success despite Japanese fighter superiority and anti-aircraft defenses. Target acquired, automated calculation initiated, Yoshida transmitted, beginning the simulated engagement scenario. Japanese doctrine would normally require sequential coordination, acquire target, calculate release parameters, coordinate formation timing, execute planned release, but American automation capability allowed simultaneous coordination that compressed decision cycles from minutes to seconds. Two bombardiers coordinated targeting priorities while maintaining formation discipline, sharing computational data that allowed concentrated effect against priority aim points while preventing timing conflicts between aircraft. Yoshida experienced bombing precision that Japanese manual procedures had made impossible, complete trajectory calculation that transformed individual bombardier excellence into formation capability. Yamamoto monitored the demonstration from multiple positions, documenting automation advantages that challenged fundamental assumptions about bombing effectiveness. Japanese tactical doctrine emphasized individual bombardier skill and rigid procedures because manual calculation prevented real-time coordination. American tactical doctrine emphasized automated systems and adaptive coordination because computational capability supported continuous tactical adjustment. The effectiveness multiplication calculated exceeds theoretical projections, Yamamoto observed. Two Japanese bombardiers using American automation demonstrate bombing precision approximately 3 times greater than two bombardiers using manual procedures. Yoshida felt professional certainty dissolving as tactical realities developed through demonstration experience superseded theoretical understanding. Japanese bombing superiority meant nothing if manual procedures prevented effective employment of available aircraft. Individual excellence could not overcome systematic disadvantage when the enemy possessed both numerical superiority and automation advantages that enabled consistent accuracy. McKinley watched Yoshida process tactical implications that explained American strategic confidence despite Japanese aircraft performance advantages. Individual Japanese bombers might achieve superior altitude and range performance, but American formations could coordinate automated bombing through equipment integration that Japanese doctrine had never imagined. The accumulated tactical advantages transformed strategic possibilities in ways that individual equipment comparisons could not reveal. The operational integration, Yoshida announced, concluding the demonstration with assessment that would inform his final report. American automation transforms every aspect of bombing coordination. Japanese tactical limitations result from manual calculation constraints rather than doctrinal inadequacy. Yamamoto nodded grimly, his operational analysis confirming Yoshida's engineering conclusions. American industrial philosophy creates equipment that enables tactical innovation, while Japanese industrial philosophy creates equipment that constrains tactical evolution. The difference determines strategic outcomes through accumulated combat advantages. McKinley recognized that his Bombsight had revealed Japanese vulnerabilities extending far beyond tactical bombing. American industrial democracy had created weapons systems that ordinary soldiers could employ effectively under combat stress, while Japanese technical excellence had produced sophisticated equipment that required ideal conditions for optimal employment. Practical combat effectiveness defeated theoretical technical superiority through systematic advantages that accumulated across multiple engagements. Yoshida sat beside the Norden as afternoon shadows lengthened across Tachikawa's testing ground, reviewing tactical capabilities that Japanese manual procedures could never provide. Automated calculation, continuous compensation, adaptive coordination. American bombing functioned as integrated system, while Japanese bombing functioned as individual efforts. The captured Norden had revealed not just superior technology, but entirely different philosophy of warfare that transformed ordinary equipment into extraordinary capability through systematic integration. His final report would document American automation advantage with precision that eliminated ambiguity. But Yoshida understood that technical documentation could not bridge the industrial gap that separated Japanese manual excellence from American automated capability. Japan no longer possessed the manufacturing resources necessary to match American production, and time would not permit developing automation systems that required precision manufacturing capabilities beyond current Japanese industrial capacity. McKinley understood that his survival had acquired meaning beyond personal endurance. His Bombsight represented American industrial philosophy, defeating Japanese technical tradition through practical solutions that enabled consistent effectiveness rather than optimal performance under ideal conditions. The difference would determine the Pacific War's outcome through accumulated advantages that individual Japanese excellence could not overcome. As Yoshida compiled his final assessment, Yamamoto stood beside the captured American bombsight that had revealed uncomfortable truths about modern warfare. The strategic implications, Yamamoto said quietly, extend beyond bombing accuracy. American industrial capacity creates equipment advantages across all combat systems. If every American weapon system demonstrates similar automation superiority, accumulated capability gaps become insurmountable, regardless of individual Japanese advantages. Yoshida's final calculations confirmed the strategic nightmare that both officers now understood. American industry could equip ordinary soldiers with automated systems that enabled consistent effectiveness. Japanese industry could equip specialist forces with sophisticated equipment that required ideal conditions. Combat favored consistency over sophistication, automation over expertise, and practical reliability over theoretical perfection. The captured Norden bombsight had revealed not merely American technical superiority, but industrial philosophy that would determine the war's outcome. Individual heroism and tactical excellence could not overcome systematic equipment advantages indefinitely. The mathematics were clear, the implications undeniable, and the strategic conclusion inescapable. Japan was fighting an enemy that could automate warfare faster than Japanese specialists could master traditional procedures. The outcome had already been determined by industrial philosophies established before the first shot was fired. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now, and don't forget to subscribe.